So I've got a few Victrolas in here. This bad boy right here is the Victor 215. It's got the nice little auto brake mechanism, which is really cool. This little, as the reproducer moves through the inside of the record, this guy will hit that little lever right there, which will engage the brake. Not very responsive. See, when the brake is off, it slots right into that little guy right there. And then this pulls it slightly out and engages the brake. Again, it's a little slow. And this guy he's got places to be. Hey, this guy's also got places to be. Not here, though. Not here. Get out of here. Yeah, we got another cat. He's a goblin. See, this Victrola is functioning like it's supposed to. You know, you crank it. The crank action is really smooth. Spin of the disc, you know, speed control working, all that good stuff. This one's working fine. Ollie, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Even this guy pretty much works as intended most of the time. That noise you're hearing, that's the governor hitting the underside of this board, which is not ideal. It's also not the end of the world. I'm not super worried about it. If this was actually playing a record, the friction from the needle would be on the record, slowing it down a little bit, and I can use the speed control like that to, you know, slow it down and make it so the governor doesn't make that noise anymore. So that's not really something I'm worried about. That's just if you twist the speed control so it's going too fast. That's the Victrola telling you, hey, knock it off. Another little thing about this guy, this is actually the Victor Victrola 50, which is the first portable model. See, because they stuck a handle on the side of it, and you can take the crank out. Like on all Victrolas, you can take the crank out, and you can jam it up there for easy storage, which I'm not going to try to do one-handed. Holds this arm in place so it doesn't go anywhere. And the spindle holding the platter in place is actually a screw holding it down. So you could, in theory, if you got everything clamped down, you could flip this whole thing upside down and carry it around and it wouldn't do anything. And Ollie, don't stick your face in the horn. Oh yeah, that's another thing. The horn, instead of going down and then straight out, it goes down to about here and then loops back in on itself, so the sound actually comes out of here. That's the rest of the horn. It's a really wacky design and a really creative way. Watch your head, Ollie. A really creative way to make an early portable, in quotes, because it's still heavy as heck, Victrola. It's really neat. Now this Victrola over here is, this actually we found in my grandpa's house after he passed away. We were cleaning everything up. It's a little not functional right now. It's also kind of disassembled. A bunch of parts are in this box over here on top of the Cheney, which is a whole nother thing. We'll talk about that later. That's a different thing. But this one, so it's the 10, right? But it's the 10A, which means that the motor is a little different. And I'll lift it up here and show you what the difference in the motor is. All right, so here we got the motor for the 10A, and I'm holding it over here because even though the hinges are intact, they're a little loose, like they don't like to stay. So if I let go of it, it actually will kind of fall. So this guy, the reason that it's got the A next to the model number, because I actually have just a Victor 10 without the A, is because this guy has just one barrel that both of the springs are inside, and there's a little piece of metal keeping them from rubbing against each other, which is something that came later, where the original Victor 10 just had like two separate canisters, one for each spring. Now this one's kind of clean because I actually came in here and redid this motor. Of course, the problem with this, as I discovered when I got inside, is there's actually one of these springs is broken, which means that when I'm actually, you know, trying to play something, it skips and it kind of catches quite a bit. That one, that right there, that was a spring slipping. So basically, what happens is the spring is inside the canister, and it's like a 14-foot long watch spring. So it's all coiled up. As it unwinds, it spins, the platter. I mean, there's actually a big vertical gear coming in through this spindle. The spindle actually goes down quite a bit. Spins a big gear, spins the spindle, spins the platter. Bada bing, bada boom. He spin. And then, of course, you have the governor and the speed control to, make sure it doesn't get too out of control. The only problem is one of the springs on this guy, the way the spring's attached to the canister to make sure the whole thing spins, it's just like a little eye hole, and then it just hooks into a rivet. Well, on the spring that I have, the eye hole has been like ripped apart from, I think, just years of use and not being serviced itself inside the canister. And that's what that noise was. And that's why this thing is not working. On top of the fact that it has no brake mechanism installed, the tone arm is not installed. That's all over here. And I also don't even have a reproducer for it, so, that doesn't help as well. Anyway, there's this one. I mean, it's in nice shape overall. All right, so then this guy, this is not the parts machine. This is the other one, but this is the Victor 10 with the wrong reproducer on it. But it is still a Victor 10. Turn on this lamp over here. That didn't help at all. And it is actually mostly intact except for the arm that holds the lid up, which kind of sucks. But I'll open it up and then you can see what the motor looks like. You can see the difference here. It's got the 2 canisters for the springs instead of just the 1. Also, the governor is positioned differently because the speed control is different. Now, I was having a problem with this guy, which is that, it was working before, and then I just tried it after I got it back from my dad, and it was making a weird noise. So I'm going to crank it up, and I'm going to see if it makes that noise again, and see if we can't figure out why it's making that noise. All right, so we got this guy going. That's the speed control. I used it to just turn it off. Honestly, I think it might just need a little bit of grease. Like, it seems to be all working fine. I can hear a little squeaking right in here. I think I'm going to put some grease on it, and we're going to see if that fixes it. Maybe I'll adjust this set screw that's holding the governor in place. Here's your governor right here. That controls your speed using a couple counterweights and this little wheel. And then your speed control up here, which in this case is just a little slider boy, determines, you can see that rod's sort of moving a little bit, this guy, determines how much that presses up against this wheel, which in turn controls the speed. Yeah, it sounds like the squeaking is coming from either here or here, so I'm going to grease it up a little bit and see if that doesn't fix it. Yeah, it appears to be the spindle gear against that big gear by the springs that was actually causing the noise. I put a little bit of lubricant on there and a couple other spots just as like a regular, yeah, this hinge also doesn't like to hold very much. Just as like a regular routine maintenance kind of thing. And that seems to have fixed the noise right up, which is kind of cool. So there you go. Yeah, that's the Victor 10. Of course, I have a box of Victrola parts in my garage and the 10A downstairs that I would like to fix, and I would like to do things with those things. So we'll see if I get around to that. Who knows? Maybe that'll be the next thing. I don't know. Also, quick note about these guys. If you do know how to do maintenance on them, good for you. Great. Awesome. Like, do your thing. If you don't know what you're doing with these, please just... There's a lot of YouTube videos online for help, but if you got like a broken spring or something, just find somebody who will fix it for you. There's a couple places that'll do that, like Vintage Music Co. in Minneapolis, I think is the closest to where I'm at. There's another shop out of New York. I don't remember what they're called, but they do exist, and they sell springs and other parts. And also the Victor Victrola website is a fantastic resource. I'll put the link to that in the description. But yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, don't mess with these. I mean, most of it is fine. Like when you take it apart, you should probably make sure that the spring tension is all out of it. Otherwise, if you undo one screw, the whole thing could like explode apart. or rip apart some gears, and it's really hard to get replacement parts for these things, unless it's like a governor, because you can get governors all over the place. Also, if you don't know, so there's inside that canister that's like a little bigger than a can of soup, there's a 14-foot spring like jammed in there. If you value not having your torso slashed open by a big metal spring, don't take that apart unless you know what you're doing. Like I have like a big leather apron that I wear, and even then I do it with like heavy duty gloves inside of a pillowcase. Because if that thing flies out of the canister and hits you, it can like slice open your stomach, and then you've got, you know, possibly 100-year-old grease, like in your body, in like an open wound in your body, and that's, you know, probably not good. Anyway, yeah, don't mess with these things. They will get you. Leave her alone. Don't do it. I told you to leave her alone. She doesn't like you very much.